So one of the things that a purchaser will look at is how do they keep you lined up with their objectives? Well, one of the ways to do that is with the employment agreement. That may include grants of new stock if you've sold all of your stock. It may include bonuses and incentives for delivery of certain objectives. But usually, they haven't learned the lesson that incentives work better than punishment. So typically what you'll see is earnouts. In other words, if you make a representation that the company is going to have a hockey stick in revenues, they'll actually hold you to it and they'll give you a price, but you'll only be paid the full price if in fact all of those objectives are achieved. So the earnout is one of the critical elements in the structure of any transaction. The other thing that you'll find is that they will give you a whole series of representations and warranties that you're expected to sign. Generally speaking, we find that people are so enthusiastic about the purchase price that they don't pay attention to some of the booby traps that are built into the warranties and the representations. Particularly one of the concerns that I always have is where the purchaser and their counsel are being lazy by effectively making you an insurer of the purchase. And that's where you have to exercise an enormous amount of caution, and that's where you benefit from having good records in your past history. One of the big elements in any transaction will be the due diligence process. So you'll have a team of people who will descend on your offices. They're going to look for all the NDA agreements. They're going to look for all of the confidentiality and IP rights assignments from your employees. They're going to look for employment agreements. They're going to look at severance liabilities. They're going to ask you if you rent any property or own any property, whether or not you have phase 1 environmental reports available. They're going to ask you for all your tax returns. They're going to ask you for all your PSD and GST returns, HST returns, and so on. And the list is exhaustive. Usually goes on possibly as long as 40 pages. There'll be interviews, there'll be discussions about contingent liabilities, disgruntled clients, the whole works, and it is an exhausting process. At the same time, this is usually tied together with the representations and warranties. And normally what you'll find is that the bigger the company and the lazier its counsel, you're going to have enormous amounts of due diligence, but at the same time, at the end of the agreement, they'll say, notwithstanding any due diligence that we may have done, you're still liable. And what does that mean? Well, that means that the percentage of the purchase price that you've received may in fact be subject to recoveries where there has been a breach of a representation or a warranty.